I'd like to talk to you about crossovers. As we know it right now, a crossover is a pseudo SUV that isn't quite as good off-road as a proper 4x4, but it looks rugged and it tends to be easier to live with as well. However, a crossover can actually be any combination of two contradicting ideas. And we've had plenty of them over the years. We've had crossover estates, we've had crossover MPVs, and of course we've had our fair share of crossover hatchbacks. But a crossover sedan? That doesn't sound like an idea that could work, right? Well, Volvo doesn't think so, and that's why we have this, the S60 Cross Country. What it is an S60 sedan that's standing on its toes. Its suspension has been raised and now the ground clearance is a whopping 201 millimeters. That's more than any of the compact luxury SUVs. Normally, a sedan riding so high would look pretty awkward, but thanks to the cross-country treatment, black cladding on the wheel arches, silver scuff plates, and a big honeycomb grille, it actually looks rather cool and menacing. Getting in is actually a bit easier as the seats aren't as low down as before. And once you do, you'll notice that not a lot has changed. So from the driver's seat, there's no real way to tell that you are in the cross-country variant of the S60. There are certainly no signs around the cabin, which looks almost identical to the standard car. That's a bit disappointing actually. It's luxurious enough, but we'd have liked to see a few more rugged touches to go with the exterior. Also, the S60 cabin in general is starting to show its age now, and things like the infotainment system feel a notch behind the competition. Even the driving position, I know that I am a fair bit higher off the ground than in the normal car, but you just don't feel it from behind the wheel. In fact, the driving experience is so similar to the standard sedan that you forget that you have 200 millimeters of ground clearance protecting you from the roughness of the road. You really do have to remind yourself that you can just hammer this car over any surface with reckless abandon. In fact, Volvo says it's designed for owners who live in the city but sometimes have to drive out of town over rough roads to their factory or their country house. But how does it feel going over the rough stuff? And as you can imagine, that has had an effect on ride quality. So the suspension does feel a little bit firm overall, but the good news is that it has a nice soft edge to it. It rounds off sharp edges really well, and it also stays really flat when you're going at high speeds. All in all, a superbly judged ride. You can thank the new 18-inch wheels and their chunky tires for that, but the other issue with race suspension is that it usually compromises the car's dynamics. So in the handling department, like the standard S60, this one isn't really all that thrilling. But it does have a key trick up its sleeve, and that is all-wheel drive. Yes, the Cross Country comes as standard with all-wheel drive, and though that doesn't really add to the thrills anymore, it does make it really grippy and confidence-inspiring. You can even feel the all-wheel drive kick in to pull you back into line sometimes. And while this doesn't transform the Cross Country into some sort of rally car, it does give you a good feeling of security around bends. Now the engine in this car is a familiar one. It's the 2.4-litre 5-cylinder diesel engine. But we would have liked if Volvo had introduced the new 2-litre 4-cylinder Drive E motor you get in the standard car. Still, this one has a very linear power delivery and has a lot of torque on tap, even though it's not very punchy. So it can really build speed quite fast indeed. With 0 to 100 in 8.2 seconds, it's not shabby at all. It's just that it doesn't feel exciting. For most owners, however, the power from this 190 horsepower motor will be more than enough to get them by. So the Volvo S60 Cross Country is a left field idea that on paper doesn't seem like it could ever work. In reality, however, it just does. It combines the prestige Indian people associate with a sedan with the ruggedness they just love in an SUV. It's also as comfortable and luxurious as you'd expect from an S60, while also letting you drive over the worst of Indian roads without a care in the world. It really stretches the definition of the word crossover, and in execution, it truly is the best of both worlds.